Welcome back to Wickerson Studios. My name is Michael Wickerson, and as you can tell from these latest series, as soon as I get these new kind of 10 scripts out, I'm going to bring them in and describe them in full detail on my Patreon. But right now, you can kind of pick and choose what's going on here. It's not too hard to figure out. I've written some scripts, and I basically am dealing with conditionals, which I think are interesting. I've done a little bit with the maths. I've moved from Rhino script syntax. As you can see here, if I got rid of my hashtag, it still runs without it because I've actually moved into the Rhino geometry, and I'm going to slowly just try and do that more and more. I promised that a long time ago, and I'm doing it. I am importing the math. So what I did was I was dealing with conditionals, creating a list, and we'll zoom out of here a little bit. You can see that I've made a grid, and I've done a grid by I in range X and J in range Y, and I've set these to integer types, and you should be familiar with that. I'm kind of assuming you're through the absolute basics. Getting in here and naming things and making sure you're integer type. What the heck? Well, it keeps jumping out, but it's there. And I'll go into my Y and I'll check my integer type, and you can see there. Huh, it's interesting. That's really not wanting to hang out for long. Anyway, I do have the type hint as integers. And then I've got an amplification that I can jazz this up and move it and do some little dancing figures and have some fun with that. So that's the first part of the script because X is greater than Y. And I brought in my little amplification input. I'm doing a surface from points, which is nice. You don't have to sort them. It works out fine. As long as you use one of these, the X and Y, I think the X is your U count. You can use a Z as U count as well, but I'm just keeping this two-dimensional. And you can do a third iteration if you want to with K and range Z. Kids are making a little noise, but I just got to deal with it. So I created a vector so I could deal in Rhino geometries. I've done a little amplification. I brought in the math sign to make it jazz up. So you can play around with that and do whatever you want. After making those points at point 3D at the vector, I append those points. Now, if this digit becomes the same, it simply flattens out, which is kind of nice. And I do have another script still running now, which I was testing, and I'm going to be adding a lot more stuff into that as I get a little more complex. So I'm just going to take that preview off. Holy cow, what is going on with my script? I'm not allowed to do anything. Well, that's very strange. Maybe I should just file save this doc and open this doc again. We'll go into back to the basics. Hopefully it works. No, it's preview off. There we go. Something was really funky there. I'm not sure what was going on. So as I run this at the same, if I bring this in and I make X and Y the same, you're going to see it's always flat because I'm just taking I, J, and 0. So that's pretty simple to figure out. But since they can be different, I'm going to put them in. And then if they go to else, which means their Y would be less than or greater than X, you can see what happens is it grabs, I just threw in a little bit here. Not only does it reverse the vector, which would send it below, I put the absolute value that would bring it above. So if I delete this and run it, you'll see that I test and it jumps down below half. But with that absolute function, I thought it would be fun to just add that in there. Whoa! Just add that function in there with Control Z, and then I can run that, and you can see it jumps above. So now as I play with all my geometries, you can see what happens. As that becomes equal, it flattens out ahead of time, and then it goes back. And of course, if you want to flatten it out behind it, just get into here and start to really figure this stuff out. So I can take that vector, and I can do a minus to a minus, and then when I run that, you'll see that as it becomes equal, it'll flatten out behind it. At least I should expect it to do that as it becomes equal. There we go. Flattens out behind on the XYZ in this direction. Nice little exercise. Let's pull X a little bit ahead. You've got your amplification on your sign. You're using a little bit of maths, and you're starting to figure out what's happening with conditionals. Great little exercise. I will continue. Thanks for watching.